All right, so this is quite awkward to do this right now. I don't really talk in front of camera while recording, but I thought I would bring you guys to see a little bit what I do in my own time. So today, this I guess pre-recorded live stream, I will be making a simple fruit tart. So what I like to do when I'm not recording a video or editing a video, I like to work on different skills that needs to be worked on. And for this one, which is dessert making, pastry making. So that's why I'm trying to start off with something simple, then eventually I will try more harder desserts. So the problem with me is whenever I am trying to work on new skills, I try to go up and beyond. I try to make desserts that are very complicated, that has many ingredients, many different components, and I don't really try to focus on the basic things, which is maybe working on my tart shell, trying to master it. I just jump straight to something complicated, and that doesn't really benefit me at all because most of the time I always mess up the recipe because there's too much components. So that's why today I will be making something very basic, fruit tart, strawberry fruit tart with a pastry cream and a sweet tart shell. So for the strawberry fruit tart, I will be using a sweet pastry. So we'll start off by measuring 130 grams of butter, if I can cut properly. Right, so the difference between a short crust pastry and a sweet pastry is the amount of butter and sugar, and or the amount of fat and sugar in the actual pastry itself. So I will say sweet pastries is a bit harder to make because it's a bit harder to handle because it's so sticky with all the amount of fat and the sugar. Short crust is a bit more easier to do, but since I'm making a strawberry fruit tart, this sweet pastry really pairs well with the strawberries. So sweet pastries are generally better for tarts where it won't involve much baking except for the tart itself. So it will just be baking the tart, then assembling it. So like strawberry tart, I won't be baking the strawberries. It'll be just fresh cut strawberries on top. Things like apple tart, where you need to bake the apple, or any other tarts that it requires baking. It's not really ideal for the sweet pastry. So the difference, like I said before, between a short crust and a sweet crust, a sweet pastry, sorry, is the amount of butter and sugar. Sorry, the amount of fat and sugar. This recipe has about 65% butter. There are other recipes where they use a lot more butter, but I'm finding the middle ground. So 65% butter along with one egg yolk, so more fat, and then we'll have 100 grams or 50% sugar. So it's very sweet, buttery, what's not to love. It has lots of fat and sugar. Obviously it's going to taste very good. And sorry, I can't really cut with this other hand. My middle finger got jammed between the door and it doesn't really look that good on camera, so I'm not going to show you guys what it looks like right now. So it's quite hard to cut with my right hand. Right, so the butter, I'm actually using 82% fat. All the butter over here is always 82% fat, no matter what brand of butter that I buy, which is quite interesting for me. Usually different brands have different fat percentages, but over here mostly all of the butter's fat percentage is 82%. If you are making this, you can use a much lower fat percentage if you want, but ideally you want 82%. I've got 130 grams of fat. Sorry, I've got 130 grams of butter measured out. There you go. It's roughly cubed up, just broken into small pieces. I'll place this in the fridge in the meantime just to keep it nice and cold, because you can see it's already melting. So I'm just going to keep it just to chill it a little bit, and we'll prep the other ingredients. Alright, so the butter is chilling in the fridge right now. Next, I'll just separate the yolk. So we just need one egg yolk. Very straightforward. This is a medium to large egg, if you're wondering. It's about 50 to 65 grams. Okay. Nice and easy. So I'll just separate the egg yolk with my hands. I know a lot of people use the shell to separate the egg yolk, but I find that easier to break the egg yolk because the egg yolk can easily get stuck on the edges of the eggshell. Does that make sense? So using your hands is much more easier, much more safer. So one egg yolk. The egg yolk is directly from the fridge, where it's quite cold, which is what I want because I will be handling a lot of butter. Okay, so now we'll actually make the tart shell. The ingredients are very simple, just handling the dough is quite hard. So over here I've got 100 grams of icing sugar or powdered sugar, whatever you want to call it. Then we'll measure out our flour. So you've seen this in my videos. This is bread flour. So in tart shells, ideally you want a low protein flour, like all-purpose flour. So I only have bread flour in my house, so we will be using bread flour. So the reason you want a low protein flour is so that you won't really toughen up the tart shell. Alright, now we'll add just a pinch of salt, just not too much. About 1 gram of salt. Next we will be mixing or whisking this ingredients. Okay, that should be more than enough. We've got the flour, the egg yolk, the salt, the sugar, all the dry ingredients are combined. Now we will add our cold butter from the fridge. So you might want to use smaller chunks, but rough chunks is also fine. Just spread it around. Alright, so once we've added the butter, we'll simply break the butter apart in the flour. So you grab the piece of butter and using your fingertips, just break it apart like that, flatten it out. Then you're basically crumbling the butter in the flour like that. So grab a bit more flour, crumble it more, and essentially what you should end up with is a nice breadcrumb texture, which you will see later on. Off camera, I've just mixed the rest of the butter. I know, this is not really a live stream. I'm not really showing you guys the whole process. So do apologize. This is as close as I am getting to recording a live stream anytime soon. Alright, you can see it's nice and crumbly, sandy texture like breadcrumbs. This is what you want. I'm going to add my egg yolk, let it break apart. Then I'll use a simple bread scraper or just a bench scraper, any will do. Simply just mix and mix. So once the egg yolk pieces are broken apart and nicely incorporated with the butter and flour and sugar, salt, all of that, you should get a nice dough. Depending how big your eggs are, you might need 2 egg yolks or you might need 1 egg yolk. So just pinch it, does that make sense? Like pinch to fully mix any unmixed egg yolk. You can see a bit of streaks of yellow. But don't work it too much. Over mixing it can cause a lot of gluten to develop, which will toughen up your tart shell, which is not what you want. So just roughly mixing like that. So I did not add any egg yolks, just used one. But if you do need, just use. Okay, you can see a nice dough has formed. Let me just gather any crumbs. Make sure your work surface is clean if you are dragging your dough across. So you don't want to collect any hairs or any other things. Right, so you can see it's nice. You can clearly tell it's a bit delicate, very fragile if I was to lift it. You can see how easily it breaks compared to a short crust. It won't really break that much. Just going to knead it just a little bit. So again, don't knead it too much. Okay, that's it. Alright, let me wash my hands and I'll come back to you guys later. Okay, so I've got baking paper on. Just clean a little bit. This is just water and tissue. There's no soap or anything. Just a bit oily on the sides. Just cleaning. Alright, so you want to chill this dough as fast as possible because it's right now. You can see how much oil it gave, how much fat. You have your dough, pick it up and just place it in between two or one sheet. So you just need one singular baking paper. If you are making a bigger portion, more than one portion, then you'll need more than one baking paper. Right, so just lightly flatten it out. You're not flattening it out completely. This is like pre-shaping. So when we chill it, once it's fully hardened up, we can roll it out. It's already somewhat flattened out. It'll just make it a bit more easier to roll out rather than having a ball, which will make it much harder to roll out later on. So just pre-shaping it, I'll call it. So this is a skill that I need to work on. I've made this once. I'm not sure why I've chosen to make it again. I should have just chosen something more simpler like short crusts, but I'm learning something new. I'm trying to get better at things like this. So yeah. Alright, there you go. It's not too thick, not too thin. It's about an inch or half an inch. Cover us up. I will be making the actual tart around midnight or so, and currently it's 2:47 p.m. So it's quite some time before I actually make this. So next, which will be in a couple of hours for me, but for you guys it will be like a few seconds. But next I will be making the crème pâtissière, which is pastry cream. Very straightforward, very simple recipe. Like I said, this fruit tart recipe is very simple. You've got a layer of sweet pastry, crème pâtissière, then your strawberries, which I will cut into wedges, coated in a little bit of honey, lemon zest and some mint, and maybe a little bit of lemon juice. We'll see. Very nice, tasty tart. But I've just made the first component, so you can make this a day in advance if you want. Just chill this in the fridge for overnight. But I'll see you guys in a couple of seconds for you. But for me, it'll be a couple of hours. All right. So it's currently 1:43 a.m. a bit past midnight, and now I will start by rolling out the sweet pastry dough. So I've just removed this dough. It's been out in room temp about for 10 minutes or so. Before you stop rolling out, you might have to remove it. Just let it come to temperature before you start rolling it out, so it'll be much easier. If you roll it out while it's still solid, it will most likely crack and break apart. So now it's malleable, you can see, which is the ideal texture. Okay, so for the tart shelf, I'm using this medium-sized tart ring. It has holes and detachable base, which makes it easy to remove the tart shell itself. Grab a little bit of flour. For this sweet pastry dough, you want to generously flour your surface because, like I said, it will stick or roll it out directly on the baking paper, so it's easier to transfer onto the tart ring. I've told you I have made this once before and it did not go too well, and one of the issues was it was sticking on the board a lot. Then I opted to roll out the tart shell on a baking paper. It makes it easier to just move it around and transfer it. Right, and this is again bread flour. Doesn't matter what flour you use, but just need to make it not stick. Essentially, flour your rolling pin, and then just gently press down on your tart shell. You don't want to start rolling it out immediately because that will also make it crack. Bad news, it's cracking a lot, but it's fine. We can mold it later on the tart ring. It's completely fine. But you can see I've rolled it out. Obviously you want it to be bigger than your actual tart ring. It shouldn't be too thin or too thick. It's about 1/4 of an inch, and every time it started cracking, what I did was simply fix the crack by molding it. Alright. Straightforward, very simple. Grab it. Don't do that. It's completely fine. I'll just grab it, layer it over there. Completely fine. Trying my best not to get too disappointed, but it's alright. You can see how crumbly this dough is, and I'm just going to mold it onto the tart ring. Not really too concerned. I can just add more pieces and start layering it. Actually, the same thing happened last time, where the dough just basically crumbled and was quite disappointing. But all I did was take different pieces and just literally just mold it. That's literally all I do, and it will work out eventually. But just make sure you get all the cracks and crevices so when it bakes it doesn't completely falls apart. So right now I'm just covering the cracks and crevices, and then I will properly mold it into the tart shell. And obviously this isn't the correct way of doing it. You've seen many professionals, well I've seen many professionals where they just lay the tart over it nice and smooth. Even with a sweet dough, they just take the sweet pastry and layer the dough over nice and smooth. I guess it was my fault. I did flour the baking thing quite a lot, but it's all good. Okay, you can see there are some thinner spots which I will add more dough. The thin spots will, well, break very easily. Now once you've covered a lot of the cracks and crevices, all you do is now mold it and make it look, I guess, more appealing. And if you have any tips or advice that I can do, please let me know in the comments. You can see it's somewhat more nicer, it's nice and molded. Any cracks or crevices is somewhat gone. Obviously you do not want to follow what I did on the whole molding technique. You'll preferably want to have a nice smooth dough where you can just roll it over the tart shell. But if you are in a similar situation as me, the dough just completely breaks apart, then you can just do what I did. Very straightforward. Right, so now using the back of the knife, just trim off the excess. Press down if it needs. When it presses down, I like to push it a little bit more up because it will shrink just a tiny bit. Once this is done, grab a fork and just dock the bottom of your tart shell. So the docking allows the air to escape when it bakes, because if you don't dock your tart shell, the air will get trapped underneath the tart shell, causing it to bubble up, or will create a air pocket that will just burst up. It's not ideal. And yes, my tart shell has holes in it that also helps prevent the air from being trapped underneath the dough. So I'm adding more just to as a safety precaution. So now what I will do, I will place this in the fridge for about 20 minutes because I have to preheat my oven, and this will help keep the shape of the tart shell rather than shrinking like a lot. So I'm going to leave this in the fridge and just preheat the oven, so it might take a while. So the dough is chilling in the fridge, the oven is preheating. Now I will start making the crème pâtissière, which is pastry cream. So we'll start off with 2 egg yolks, the same size eggs, medium to large. So simply grab it with your hands, your fingers, and remove the glazer, which is the stringy bits that I know a lot of people find disgusting. And if the stringy bits, the glazer, are stuck on the egg yolk, I like to pinch it with my index, like that. Then just pull it out, and there you go, it's separated. So basically the glazer, that is spelled CHALAZA, that is the little stringy bits that a lot of people find very, very disgusting. I personally don't have any real issue with it, unless I am making pastries or any desserts. For bread making, I don't really mind, just keep it when I'm making the bread, but for pastries I like to remove it, especially when I'm making things like pastry cream, where I need the egg yolk without the glazer. So essentially these little stringy snotty bits that looks quite messed up, honestly, these are basically 2 strings, one on the top and one on the bottom, and it basically suspends the egg yolk in the middle, prevents the egg yolk from bouncing around the shell, makes it suspend, makes it stay still right in the middle. There's nothing really wrong with it, you can eat it, but when in making pastry creams, tart shells, all of that, ideally you want to remove it. Now we will measure the sugar. You can use icing sugar or powdered sugar if you want to call it that. You can use granulated sugar, caster sugar, doesn't really matter. You need about 41 grams of sugar. I have posted this recipe on my YouTube channel. I will be using the exact recipe, but I do not have vanilla extract, so I will be opting for vanilla sugar. So if you don't have vanilla extract like me, just substitute the sugar with vanilla sugar. So I'll be using 40 grams of vanilla sugar, and if you do have vanilla extract, you just need about 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Alright, so here you go. Now just give it a good whisk so it's fully incorporated. Now I will measure about 18 grams of flour. So obviously I am using bread flour once again. You can use all-purpose flour. It's best to use all-purpose flour, something that is not high in protein, but I am not doing that because I do not have all-purpose flour right now. And now, same as before, just whisk it. So set this aside, and then on the stove I will be heating up this milk. This is 125 grams of milk. Just don't simmer it, don't boil it, just heating up the milk. Okay, so now we have the heated milk. It's been heated very, very gently. So don't scorch it, do not boil it. So all you do is pour in the milk, and you need to stir as you pour in the milk, because if you don't, you're going to scorch the eggs and essentially cook them. So pour about a quarter of the 125 grams of milk. Just guesstimate. It's about that much. And what we're doing right now is we are tempering the eggs so that it's the same temperature as the hot milk. Carefully now we will transfer this mixture into the pot where we will cook till the desired thickness is achieved. Scrape all of it. Then whisk just to combine. Once it's fully mixed, we'll use a spatula now to continuously mix or stir until you reach the right consistency. Alright, so you can see that I've got the heat on medium low. Don't turn it crazy high up. If you do that, it will completely cook the eggs. So scrape off the sides, scrape off the bottom, and just mix on this heat. Don't keep the mixture still for too long, because it can, well, cook the eggs. And we'll scramble it, scraping the sides. And you can already see the mixture starting to thicken up. Alright, so it's fully cooked. It's quite thicker than usual. And I will say it's a bit clumpy, the mixture, because I was trying to move the camera while mixing. It's fixed that slight issue. I'll just pass this through a sieve. And you want the mixture to be out of the pan, because understand that the pan is still very, very hot right now. And if you do not remove it from the pan, it will essentially carry on cooking inside the pan. So you want to transfer it immediately to a bowl to cool off. I'm just making mistakes over mistakes right now. First the tart shell, now the pastry cream, which I usually nail, is very, very clumpy because I didn't stir enough while cooking it. Alright, so now just simply again pass through the sieve or pass through the strainer, whatever it is. Actually, I think this might be too less, so I think I've screwed myself over here. Alright, now what you need to do is just completely cool it down, then store it in the fridge ready for use. But when you're storing this in the fridge, you want to make sure the cling film is in direct contact with the pastry cream. If you don't do that, basically what will happen is a skin will form on top of the pastry cream, which is not really what you want. I'm going to make another batch of pastry cream off camera, because I think it'll be much easier to record, to make pastry cream without having to record as much. So I'll make another batch and then I'll come back to you guys, and when I do come back, we will be baking the tart shells. Off camera, I've just made another portion of this pastry cream, and surprise, surprise, it turned out much more better. There was no clumps, it was much more smoother, you can tell. And this time I didn't really cook it for that long because I made it quite runny. Then I mixed in with the old pastry cream, which was quite thick. So mix both of them up and you get this somewhat runny and thick pastry cream. And now you can see why I don't go live. That's why I'm doing this pre-recorded video for a live stream, because you do not want to see all of the mistakes that I made. So when you are wrapping your pastry cream, what you want to do is allow the cling film to touch the surface of the pastry cream. This will prevent it from forming any skin, which is not really, you don't really want a skin forming. Just like that. Alright, so I lied to you guys. It's not been 10 minutes. It's been about 30 minutes or so since I left this in the fridge. So now I will be baking this, blind baking it first. So essentially what blind baking is, you are baking it without any color. You just try to make sure it holds its shape. So currently it is hard right now, but even though if I bake it right now, it will still shrink a little bit, which is not really ideal. And to avoid that is we have these things. You can use baking beans or anything that is good for baking essentially. Make sure you can handle the heat. So I have baking paper. We'll layer it over the tart shell. Just press it down just to cover the area. And I am using this silicone mat, and you can see it has holes on the actual mat. It basically allows airflow. If you don't have this, you can simply use baking paper or just bake it on the tray. So I'll leave this 180 degrees Celsius in the oven for 12 to 15 minutes. We'll see how it is. Then after 12 to 15 minutes, we'll brush it with egg wash on the surface, then we'll bake it once more. Alright, so it's been about 15 minutes or so. Alright, so let me cool this a little bit, then I'll remove as much as I can. So, I'm not going to lie to you guys, things went horribly wrong. So you can see some, I just took some uncooked dough. Yeah, that broke, fantastic. I took some uncooked pastry dough that I had left over and just filled in the patches, any thin spots. And you can see all of these markings. That's because some of the rice fell out and it was baking inside the pastry dough, so I had to individually pull them out. So if whoever eats this and breaks their teeth because they bit into a grain of rice, I will have to apologize right now. And I promise you guys, last time I made this tart shell, this sweet tart shell, sweet pastry, it did not go this bad. Just when I started recording, then it started going bad, of course. I'm grabbing some uncooked dough. I'm going to crank up the heat a little bit more, about 185 or 190. Going to bake this. I'm just patching up the broken bits so that it doesn't completely falls apart. So I'll bake this one more and see how it turns out. Alright, look, so the tart shell is currently still baking in the oven, but while it's baking, we'll prep our last component, which is the strawberries. So I got these strawberries just today actually, and you can see they're not the greatest quality, they're not the best strawberries. What I will do with strawberries is cut off the top, just pinch it, cut off the top slightly. Can you see that? Then I'll cut these into wedges. Just like this. So I follow this pastry chef who makes these incredible tarts. and one of his peach tarts, I think, if I'm correct. The way he layered the fruits on top of the tart was very, very beautiful. And I ended up recreating that tart. So I will put a picture up on the screen so you guys can see. And I really love how he arranged the fruits. So that is why for this strawberry tart, I will be doing the exact same thing. I will arrange it just like that because I really like how it looks. So once I've cut these into wedges, I'm using about 200 grams, maybe 250. Once I've cut these into wedges, I will coat these lightly with honey. Then I'll add some mint and a little bit of lemon zest, maybe lemon juice, I will see. Alright, so quick update, I had to stop slicing the strawberries because this has finished baking, and look, it looks pretty good. So what I like to do is just grab any measuring cup and just flatten out the bottom. So I'll just flatten it out near the edges so it would be nice and, I guess, flat. But don't be too rough, but you have to be very, very gentle, very delicate, because this is just straight from the oven, so the tart shell is very, very, very soft, very delicate, very fragile. It can break easily. You can see how soft the crust is. So gently press it down, and you can see it's already flattened out. Then just to finish it up, just to add a bit more color, I will have egg wash. So this is egg yolk and like a teaspoon of milk. I'm using just the egg yolk and, like I said, a teaspoon of milk. Whisk it together. There is no need for salt. Alright, so what I'll do is I'll bake this at 170, I think, maybe 160, I'll see. So I'll bake this, finish slicing the strawberries, then we'll assemble, I guess. Alright, so we're almost done here, guys. I do need to go to bed right now. It's currently 4:53, so I started recording at 1:43, and you can see, fortunately, I'm very thankful that I did not do this live. This would have been a very, very long live stream. It's a complete mess, so this is as close as I'm getting to doing a proper live. So it took me way too long. I did have a few breaks here and there, but still. So here I've got some mint leaves. I've got these today. Smells incredible. I'll get the larger ones. And what you want to do, I'm pretty sure you guys seen this before, but I'll just demonstrate to you. This is about 4 mint leaves. I'm stacking them up so I can slice them. There you go. That should be more than enough. I've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 leaves, 7 or 8 leaves. Once you've stacked these up, you will roll it this way, lengthways, so this way. Roll it somewhat tightly, and you'll have this little roll of leaves essentially. And then what you will do is thinly slice it, but I won't cut it super thin. I won't really chiffonade them. And then just simply slice it. And you want a very, very sharp knife because you don't want to bruise the mint leaves. You're trying to neatly slice the mint leaves, not bruising them. So I didn't really chiffonade them. I made them quite thick, that's the best way to put it, because I didn't want it to be super, super thinly sliced. You just untangle these. You can chop it a bit more if you like, just to make it slightly more finer. There you go. I don't want to add too much, just 7 or 8 leaves. Alright, so quick update. The tart shell is finished baking. You can see now it looks very beautiful. See, I told you it will work out in the end. What did I say? So I'm going to let this cool completely because it's super delicate. I don't want to destroy it. Let me just let it cool down completely before we remove it from the casing. So the tart shell was baking in the oven at 160 degrees Celsius for 12 minutes. Let's finish the last component. Then I have here a bit of honey. So I've quickly heated the honey so it's quite runny. You can see. So I wasn't really going to use the honey for any sweetness. I was really using the honey for the shine effect that will give to my strawberries, but unfortunately my strawberries were quite sour. They weren't really sweet. They were some of them are sweet, but they have like a mixture of sweet and sour. So now change of plan. I will add a little bit more honey than I was planning to add because I want to make the strawberries a bit more sweet. So I will literally just pour all of the honey inside, drizzle it. So this is about 3 teaspoons of honey. Alright, then I've got 1 lemon, and I was going to squeeze the lemon juice, but I have this little syrup that I made. It's literally pomegranate mixed fruit juice reduced down to a thick syrup. So I saw a video, a very wonderful chef, where he took apple juice and he reduced it down to a syrup consistency. Then he used the reduced apple syrup, and he used it to brush over the strawberries, which gave it some lovely flavors and some nice shine. And I thought that was very cool. So I will do the same thing, but I'm not going to use a lot of it, obviously, because this is sour and also sweet, because it's pomegranate mixed fruit juice. So I will just add a little bit onto the strawberries, and hopefully this will give it a nice darker color, darker red color. We won't add too much. That seems quite enough. Yeah, that's more than enough. So it's about this much lemon, half lemon. So if you want to squeeze a bit of lemon juice, go ahead. But since I'm adding this and this syrup, which is sour, and my strawberries are a bit sour, I won't be adding the lemon juice. I'm gonna mix this first before I add the syrup. And very gently mix it. You don't want to destroy the strawberries or mash them. So while I'm doing this, I just want to clear things up. This isn't a recipe video, that recipe live stream, I guess. This is me showing you guys what I do in my own time, because this isn't really a recipe video, because I'm basically learning with you guys. But if you do want to follow the recipe will be in the description. I just tasted it, so I won't add so much because it is slightly a bit more on the sour side, these strawberries, even though it's coated in honey. So when you are doing this, make sure you taste as you go, so you know how much honey you should add, how much lemon juice you should add, if you are adding lemon juice. But I'll use this syrup. It's going to add a bit of sweetness and a bit of sourness. I'm just going to drizzle a little bit. And it's going to add a bit of color to the strawberries, hopefully. Set that aside. Give this a nice mix. Let me taste. Tastes a lot more better, the sweetness from the syrup, and yeah, the sweetness from the syrup really makes it a bit more sweet, really. I might add more, if I'm being honest. So it adds nice, lovely, so it adds sweetness and sourness to my, well, my fruits. So I'll just leave it on the side, maybe leave it in the fridge, because I need to allow the tart shell to completely cool. And once I finish assembling it, I will also add fresh mint leaves. I'll cut new ones and add fresh ones because these ones are already soaked. So I'll wrap this, pop it in the fridge, allow the tart shell to completely cool before I take it off the mold. Then I'll meet you guys back when I assemble the whole tart. Alright, so the tart shell is fully cooled and I managed to remove it from the casing. So you can tell already the tart shell is quite thick, which is, I don't really have an issue with that, but if you'd like a much thinner tart shell, obviously you need to, well, roll it out thinly, but be careful, which you saw, it's very, very delicate. You can use a microplane to file the sides to make it more neater, if you like. And if you want an update, currently it is 6:04 AM. So I started recording at 1:42. Now it's 6:04. I'm not going to lie to you. I did not expect to make any mistakes when I was recording this. I thought it would be like a nice, smooth recording session, quick and easy. So currently I am placing the pastry cream over the tart shell. The pastry cream is completely chilled, so I wrapped it and then I just chilled it in the fridge. So the pastry cream is cold, the tart shell is in room temperature, completely cold, and the fruits are in the fridge just sitting there until I finish assembling it. Right now you simply just spread it out evenly. Once you've gotten like a nice even spread, a nice even layer at the bottom, you will now lift it up near the edges. Clean the sides if needed. Once it's nicely layered, we will assemble the strawberries. The strawberries have been sitting in this juices for about 20 or 30 minutes. But now we'll just assemble the whole thing. I don't think I have enough strawberries. Try not to collect any of the juice. We will drizzle the leftover juice in the end. Since I do not have enough strawberries, I have to make it look a bit more full. I'm trying to make these strawberries stand up, like some of them stand up, so it looks, I guess, tall. I was going to use my tweezers, but you saw earlier it broke. And yes, I've washed my hands already, so don't mind me handling the strawberries with my hands. You know what? It's actually looking pretty good. It's looking nice. The bigger strawberries, I will make them stand up. These smaller ones will just stay laying down because, well, they're quite small. I'm just adding a little bit of few teaspoons. Don't want to flood the whole tart. I'm gonna add a few mint sprigs, mint leaves, the good looking ones obviously, and I mean these ones. Can you see that? Focus, focus, focus. These ones. I might need to add some fresh lemon zest on top to bring the yellow out a bit more. Alright, so this is how it's looking. It looks pretty good. There is a bit too much juice, I will say that. See, I added way too much. I wish there was a bit more strawberry so I can make it a bit more taller. Yeah, I should have removed the juice. Look at that, bro. Way too much. Alright, so I'm not going to lie with you guys. I'm not going to taste this. Just don't feel like eating this right now. It's 6:26 in the morning. I haven't slept yet because this took longer than expected. I will try it once I wake up. I'm not sure what time that is. But overall, if I'm being completely honest, I am quite proud of this. Obviously, I have to work on my tart shell, which you guys have clearly seen. I still need to refine it, make it better. Pastry cream, I've already made it multiple times, but I will say I tasted this pastry cream and it's a little bit, it doesn't taste the best because I used the vanilla sugar. Before this I made with vanilla extract and it was perfectly fine, but this vanilla sugar had this weird taste afterwards. No, I'm not going to lie with you, but hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully this is completely different to my normal videos. Like I said, this is as close as I'm getting to a live stream. Not really prepared or not really ready to start a live, so I'm going to start with pre-recording videos, then live streaming them. And if you have any tips that I can improve on, please let me know in the comments, because like I said, this isn't really like a recipe video. This is just me practicing my skill, which I have mentioned multiple times. I'm trying to refine the basic skills before I try to do something much more complicated. But if you do want to follow this recipe, the recipe will be in the description. So a really quick update, I was going to go to sleep and then, you know, wake up, taste the tart, then give you guys a review of how the flavor is, but I couldn't go to sleep, so I just had to try the tart. So 100% the tart shell is way too thick because I need to forcefully break the tart shell, so that's -1. The whole combination 100% reduce the amount of the syrup that I was talking about. When you take the juice and you reduce it into a syrup, do not add all of it, just add a few teaspoons is more than enough, so it's overloading with the juice syrup and the flavor as well. And 100% when you are making your custard, your pastry cream, do not use vanilla sugar. Maybe use half vanilla sugar and half normal sugar, because the initial taste of this pastry cream is lovely, delicious, but then the aftertaste is like this weird, it's like this weird taste afterwards in my tongue. So maybe I'm using the wrong kind of sugar. Sweet crust pastry, very tasty, delicious. Obviously make it slightly thinner. Strawberries by itself are amazing. Obviously I need to reduce the juices like I've mentioned before, then it'll be even more tastier. All together tastes amazing actually. The sourness, sweetness, it's all there. Taste wise and delicious. Just need to make a few tweaks. And obviously you can use different fruits, not just strawberry. It can be multiple different fruits. Alright, I'm gonna stop recording because I can't really talk properly right now. I'm not sure how to end this video. It's just quite awkward. Goodbye.